What's up, guys? Hey, what's
All
up,
right.
everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Huddle. We come at you every Tuesday to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. I say it every week, pretty much any career or any business. I think most of what we talk about is applicable. This week, we're starting a four-part series on relationships. And today we're going to start with building and maintaining relationships with your crews. This is all party participant, right? So if you're an installer, uh, throw up some chat or some questions in regards to some good and positive ways that maybe a shop you're working with or a builder you're working with has really impressed you in that regard of building a relationship with you. And if you're a company, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And if you find any value and you find a few nuggets, that's what we hope. So, gentlemen, this week, let me add, as usual, I got the fantastic gentlemen from Michigan, Daniel and Jose. And so how's it going, guys?
Let's
Good.
go, man.
All the
All right.
snow melted, so that's good.
Well, I'm in Colorado Springs at the moment, and we just got about an inch of snow. It was 50 and sunny yesterday, and today got about an inch and 14 degrees. So
Lovely. Sounds like
not
home.
nice change. So yeah, this topic is one of those that I had to go back and kind of search in my, through the 20 something years I've been in the flooring industry and 20 plus years in business, and realized that I was really terrible at a lot of what we're going to talk about today. And I'm still not great. That's the truth. So hopefully we get some interaction. I can learn something from the preferred flooring folks, and hopefully I can learn something from some of our audience. So I'm going to kick it off with Daniel. What are when we're talking about starting building, maintaining relationships with crews, and this is whether they're employee or subs, but I think subs are a little more difficult to do. Your employees get to go to Christmas parties and all that stuff, and maybe you throw a subcontractor appreciation every now and again, but your employees are more involved in the company, generally speaking. So that may be two different ways of dealing with it. But what's your take on how have you guys been able to, and what have you seen out there that's, with other companies on building good, solid relationships with their crews?
I I think it just starts with that, like getting to know your guys rather than just thinking that they're there to do what they got to do and then go home. There's quite a few times where just being in the office, the guys will come into the office and they'll stay here for half hour, 45 minutes and just shoot the shit, just talk and see what's going on in each other's lives and ask questions that they really don't have anyone else to ask. And it's not always about work, I think, is what it boils down to, right? You have to get to know people on a more personal level rather than just always talking about work.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's probably where I was the weakest for the first decade maybe of being in business, where you know it's not that I didn't care, it's just I didn't put enough effort into getting to know them and knowing their life. And they got kids and they got a family and they got you know dreams and aspirations just like the rest of us, just like everybody does. And realizing that at some point I started to realize that the way I was treated as an employee, I took a lot of solace in that I was much better than the company I worked for, but I still wasn't very good at this. I wasn't very good at showing people I cared. about them. Specifically our subcontract installers. Hourlies I did a little bit better with. They're a little bit more, you have a little more interaction with them because you know, unfortunately for an hourly crew, sometimes we bounce them around from job to job.
Right.
But yeah, I was poor at that part, dude. And I feel like I've gotten better, but I got a long ways to go. How about
Yeah.
you, Jose?
So it's a little weird. Like everybody's dynamic is a little different, right? Like, so a lot of the guys, the majority of the guys that have run through Preferred or been with us for a while or will be with us in the future, a lot of them are referrals through close friends or family, and it does give us a little bit of an advantage on knowing the personal them personally. Like everybody I've known, like one of the guys, one of our gentlemen, Bobby, I've known him since before that dude used to walk around the softball field with boogers hanging out. You know what I mean? I've known him since he was in elementary school, and even like Jeremy that worked for us. So it makes it easier to connect on a personal level, and you know that you know their life, right? You know more than the standard or typical, let's say, boss or business owner. So that's little gives us a little bit of an advantage, or I feel it's an advantage for us. But making sure that you're able to keep that connection is it does prove to be difficult sometimes, right? Like you
Well, I
get
wanted to,
busy.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, you get busy and you just you know that you connect with them on a personal level, but at the same time, it's you're still trying to make sure that you can keep that revolving door of work open for them, so that way they have something solid to base their finances off. And with that happening, you do lose track of the intimate portion of any relationship that is at work.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up that when I first started it, I felt really when I kind of recognized and some of the guys I knew from the other company that we worked at, and that it was more natural because I already knew them. But bringing in new crews, I didn't want to be unauthentic about
Yeah,
showing interest in them, like just so that they wanted to do something for me or for the benefit of my company or the benefit of the company in general. Uh, it really, I mean, it's a personal journey for me anyway, that you actually have to care. You actually have to care without the strings attached of what it does for your business. Not trying to call you out on it. It just you brought up something that triggered how I was, and so I wanted to
right.
point that out from a work standpoint. I feel like what really which is the part I probably did better and I'm still not great at, but I'm working on it, is good, solid communication and having the jobs, ready for them. Like making sure that they're profitable, caring about their money, not just my
Yeah,
money or the company's money, but caring about their money by setting the jobs up correctly, training our project managers and our project executives and our admin staff to realize that, having an efficient job site for a crew benefits that crew. And if we can do that, then they're going to make a better living and less downtime and those, less jobs getting pushed. Some of that's going to happen completely outside of like we can't control it. I mean, you guys know, you get pictures from a job site that say it's ready, and you get there and all of a sudden it looks like Sanford and Sons moved into the room you're supposed to be doing.
yeah,
So some of it we cannot control completely. But that's from the business aspect. And then, a lot of the subs are my friends. I have a few that are that I mentor on some level of consistent basis. come into my office, I talk to them, discuss a lot of the stuff I went through as a sub. Even my employee installers, just stuff I went through as an employee installer, and how we can do better. And one other thing I would say is asking them what you can do better.
I know that door's got to swing both ways in order to become more efficient on both sides. You got to be willing to take criticism, whether it's positive or negative on both ends, right? I know that there's got to be balance, but and to add to the conversation a little bit, because I don't want anybody to think like I don't talk to anybody at work, because I do talk to everybody outside of work as well. It's just like Daniel said, sometimes when they do have a little bit extra time and they have something going on in the evening, and we're working a little bit later in the office, they come in and hang out, and I absolutely love that, right? Like, we'll catch up on life in general, and I love that aspect. But I do take the time to shoot text messages or phone calls outside of work hours to the guys, because I get reminded of them through little things that go on day to day, and I want them to understand that I think about them at work. I have to think about them, but at home I don't have to, but I still do, because that's what you create, is a family atmosphere.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is the biggest compliment we can receive as a company, is when one of our installers, or whether they're subs or employees, say that it's like a big family. You know, that's pretty, that's just a good feeling, you know. They know you care at that point.
Because you can, it's different with family, right? Because you can have an argument 1 minute and then 15 minutes later you're all right. And you kind of have to bring that atmosphere here too, right? Where it's like, all right, we can disagree right now, but just take a quick 10-minute breather and then we have to get back to it. Like, there's no reason to hold a grudge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. How family deals with, disputes, and then, but at the end of the day, you're still family. It's pretty similar.
It is. And I think that's human nature. It's just, it's easier to stay upset and disagree when the relationship is long distance, right? But when you got to see somebody every day, you got to bump into them every day, there is no reason to hold on to that animosity, to hold on to, just agree to disagree and move on.
Yeah.
And
so great concepts. How do we what are specific things that you guys do that accomplish that? So I'll give you an example. I make 100% sure anytime an installer is in our office, I go up and talk to them. I go up and say, hi, how's it going? What are you up to? How's the wife or daughter or kids or whatever? And we actually have a conversation, and I shake their hand. Sometimes we hug. I mean, those are real life relationship building things. And I'm not doing it. I hope I'm being clear here. I'm not saying go out and do these things unauthentically. Like, you got to find it in yourself to actually want that, but that's been a real, relationship builder, I guess, almost organically with the crews. Is, and when I see those guys, I know what they go through. You guys know what they go through.
yeah,
There's not a lot of people that are, a lot of companies have people in the office that simply, and frankly, those are the people that could learn the most off of this conversation, because all three of us are old installers, and what it's like to be out on a job site and not have the materials, or feel like you're just a tool in that company's toolbox. And if we want a better
that is not a good
installation
feeling.
community, we have to be better too. So
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like you said, it can't feel like it's forced, right? But at the same time, when you're trying something new, you kind of got to force yourself to do it and then become comfortable with it. So, a lot of what we have done, especially like lately, Crystal is actually, and I think we've talked about it before. She had the guys do a vision board to kind of see where they're at and where they want to go. And we talked about that a few weeks ago, and just building on that and how what they have going on fits into what we have going on. Like we're all striving for the same thing, whether it's, you know, in business or personally, you want to better yourself, and that's where we're at. And we asked them, you know, how can we help you guys get to where you need to go as well, right? We're trying to give them those tools. And it's one of those things where we never really realized how big of an impact you can have on someone as far as like being a mentor and stuff without even realizing you're being a mentor, just giving them the advice and stuff like that when you're with them all the time. You know, we were in the field for years with guys, and I didn't realize it until it was really the last surfaces where, you know, Crystal actually got a mentor and told me. She was like, she didn't even realize that I was mentoring her until that time. And it's like, you kind of need that, especially, you know, throughout the day, because there's so many questions that people have. And it's like, just talk to me. Let me know what's on your mind. It's a free therapy session, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we come back with, you know, they don't necessarily want to hear, but it's the things that they need to hear.
Yeah.
And
Pull no
that
punches.
changes sometimes.
Well, and it takes a good dynamic for that to to work. You know, I certainly have the adverse side or the other side of that where I've mentored with guys. I got one guy in my head right now. Obviously, I won't name it, but I mentored with him for, I don't know, a month or two. He didn't work for us for very long, and nothing stuck. Nothing. Um, Come to find out, it was somewhat like a joke to him, and that does not deter me. That is
No,
one
man.
individual that decided that it wasn't for him, and I get that. Not everybody, you know, jives perfectly with someone else, but at the end of the day, it does not deter me. I still feel like um, I poured into him, and that's my job, not how he deals with it or not how the person deals with it. It's, did I pour into them my knowledge and my experience and my time and my care. Um, you just can't get hung up on whether it works every time is the point.
Right. And that's the thing that you realize too, right? Is as long as you know you're doing your best, not everyone wants to be helped, right? So
Yeah.
That's that's what I was going to add to is this, not everyone wants to be helped. And you know, if I told you that I took all the advice that I was given through what people or individuals that would be labeled as my mentor, I'd 100% be lying to you. Um, I had to find out the hard way myself because I want to feel it, smell it, touch it, and it doesn't matter what anybody says to you. If it's not, sometimes if it's not your idea, then your brain rejects it
right. And
and
then
just got it.
you can kind of relate it to kids, right? Because you look at your kids and you can tell them, don't do that, don't do that. And then finally it's like, not listening, go ahead, do it. Now you're crying. So what do we learn?
Yeah.
Told you. Um, you know, another way too, like I'm going to go back to the original question that you asked Daniel, and some of the ways that I relate to people are a little, I want to say unorthodox, right? Only because that's just our family dynamic. Like we'll go to, I'll just use Thanksgiving. We'll go to Thanksgiving, and our Thanksgiving consists of us having dinner, watching the kids trip and fight and do kid things. And as they run in front of us while we're sitting on the couch, we try to trip them and then laugh when they fall. You know, so that's just kind of how we grew up. So it's normal. So the adults, we'll sit there, we'll make fun of each other. We'll just rip on each other, right? But that's our family dynamic. We like to make fun of each other. We like to laugh, even if it's at our expense or someone else's. And a lot of my relationships with the guys that have worked with us that currently work for us, we do that. We have that banter back and forth, and it keeps us fresh. It keeps us on our toes. It keeps the wits alive. But that's just a way that I personally make connections with people. Is I like to have banter like that back and forth. But when enough is enough, we have to know that, and life has got to be serious at some moments, and life can be fun. And just having that type of connection with somebody and being able to play around like that really helps build a stronger foundation in our relationship outside of just the work relationship.
Well, it gives you a
Turning it off and
chance
on.
to kind of, you know, we all know the construction industry is tough business.
Oh, yeah.
Flooring is tough business. You know, when you have a bad day, if you got a boss that you can go let loose with a little bit, maybe toss some, you know, I hate
And
to
play some
say,
cornhole.
yeah, I mean, it can get pretty racy sometimes with some of our guys, you know, they from the aspect of, you know, talking shit with each other.
Yeah.
But you know, it gives them a chance to just kind of forget about the day, and you know, we all have our tough days, so you know, that's, again, it kind of goes back to treat them like family. I've been to
Yeah.
a lot of, we've all been to a ton of conferences, and obviously we support that. If you're in the flooring industry as an installer, you ought to get to some of these things, but at the conferences, you know, they talk about building relationships a lot. They talk about, I remember, I think it was at a Fuse conference actually, but one of the speakers, their biggest thing was these people are with you in the same time frame that you're probably with your family, so you should treat them as such. And it was all about treating your employees like family. And that can be real cliche, but if you exercise it and you do it and you actually treat them like that, then you know, most of your guys are going to stick around, and you're going to have a better time together at work.
Right. You
Period.
like you said earlier, you know, you can't treat them like a tool. You got to, and the whole family dynamic comes in because you have to realize that these guys are, and we can kind of get into the whole generational thing where the younger people are coming in, right? Because we have some younger guys working with us, and it's like they want to come in and work, but they also have a life outside of work that they want to get to enjoy. So what can you do in order to kind of help them out with that? And for, you know, the past, it's been a long time. We stopped working weekends. You know, we tell everyone, you want us to work a weekend, you're definitely gonna have to make it worth it, because we also have to make it worth it, because that's cutting in on family time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, even
Yeah.
if some of these guys that work with us, you know, that they don't have kids or anything, but still they have things planned on the weekends, and it's like, sorry, man, like, in order to break these plans, like, your job isn't worth me putting my guys in a position to where they're going to be angry and then not produce that following week. I'd rather give them the days off that they already had planned to do something, and then we'll start off fresh next week.
That's always a hard thing too. It's like it took so long for me to comfortably get that message across to a lot of the companies that we were established with and doing work for. And I know not everybody goes for it, not everybody does it. There's a lot of guys that would rather work on the weekend than a Thursday or Friday. And I get it, I understand it. And everybody do what they wish for their work schedule. It just, for us and what we were doing and the dynamics that we had going on, it just seemed to fit better for us to avoid working weekends. The team morale was better on Monday. There was more benefits than negatives, and the benefits were more internal, obviously, right? I wasn't keeping everybody happy when we made those decisions. We weren't keeping everybody happy as far as the companies we worked for. But
You glitched for a
sorry.
second, you paused, and then went real fast. It's gonna sound real good on the podcast.
oh, okay. So
That was crazy. Sorry.
but it did help. I thought I said something wrong for a second. I said, but it did help. It did help our chemistry as a company, and production did get better. It did, and guys loved the fact that I did my best to avoid nights or weekends. Can I 100% avoid it? No.
No, but it's
But
got to be necessary. So
yeah,
you got to push
yeah,
back on your client to make sure, is it necessary or just something that they're wanting? And
correct.
we get a lot of, well, can you guys work Saturday and Sunday? And my question is always, is that part of our duration? And then if it's not, is this really necessary? Like, what are, don't just say yes. I want to drill down and find out, why do they think they need us to work this weekend? And over the summer this year, our guys were ran pretty hard. We did work quite a few weekends, but I'll tell you, we recognized that with the guys. We told them, each one of them, look, we know we're driving hard here, and we know it's getting crazy, but hang in with us. Obviously it's going to slow down a little bit, and we'll get back to some normal work hours. At least acknowledge it, I think, is where we were at. We're not as far along as you guys in that respect, as far as like trying, almost setting the rule that you don't work weekends, and then someone's really got to come at you with a real good reason why. We just try to make sure that it's actually necessary, and not just a request or a want, or a nice to have.
Right. And then we're getting comments from LinkedIn like weekends inflate the price and it costs more installing weekends and nights. And you can look at it like that, right? But at the same time, you have to look at it from a different perspective as well. Like, yeah, you could get paid more, but I'll always go back to we had a meeting over here at Welsh Tile with Dan Welsh, and he put it, he laid it out. He said, you got to start thinking about it as you only have so many miles on your knees.
Yes.
So when you're already working 40 plus hours between Monday and Friday, and then you get weekends in the mix, you don't give your body that time that it needs to rest, right? And
Heal.
especially me lately, like when I go in the field, all it takes is one day and I feel broken. Once you start getting into that rhythm again, right? It's a little bit easier because you think things in motion want to stay in motion, right? It's a fact. So the
Yeah.
more you do it, the easier it gets. But just me being out in the field for 3 days puts me in knee braces for 2 weeks. I went in the field. This was probably a good couple months ago now, to where, I worked a few days and I felt fine. And then on a weekend, I'm just standing there and, we're at a meeting. I'm just meeting all these parents for my niece's new softball team. And I'm standing there talking to one of the coaches, and my body just goes like this. And I have to catch myself. And they're like, "You all right?" I'm like, "My hip just went out. Like, I have to limp back to my truck now."
Yeah. Well, that's a,
Eases just for men.
we touched on this on a previous podcast during the safety stuff, or taking care of your body, the
Take care of your
longevity,
body.
right? And if you look at it like you're like Dan Welch said, is you only have so many up and downs, right? You only have so many miles on your knees. Are you wasting them on weekend work that's not necessary? I mean, look, if it has to happen, I'm just the type that I believe we should try our best to make it happen.
Yes.
That can also be done creatively by keeping track of who worked previous weekends, and maybe working someone who hasn't worked a weekend in the last month or so. And so there, you know, you can get a little bit more creative. We've actually had hourlies go in behind a sub, because the sub had worked, you know, a month, you know, straight through weekends, and then we'd just have our hourlies. If they didn't have all their hours or something, they were asking for hours, we can give them those hours and follow behind that sub and help that sub out. And
Right.
you know, so
There
you got to
there
be a
was
little
a
creative sometimes, but
there was a point too where this was a few months ago, we were doing a hospital project and it needed moisture mitigation, and then we had to self level on top of that. And in order to keep on schedule, I mean, the guys were already working. I want to say they were working 50 plus hours a week at this point, Monday through Friday. At that point, it's hard for me to say, hey, you guys got to work Saturday too. And me, Jose, and Crystal went in on Saturday and self-leveled everything so that way it was ready for the guys on Monday.
there you
Yeah,
go.
there was, and you know what? I love working with my brother and my sister. It's like that well-oiled machine. You don't have to say, "Hey, you need to do this," and you need to do that. It's just like we walk in. This is what's got to be done. All right, boom, divide, conquer, meet in the
Yeah.
middle, slap hands, and go home.
And that also, goes to the culture and showing your team that, even though I'm not in the field every day, I'm still thinking about you guys and I'm still worried about you getting the rest that you need. So I'm going to take some of my time and go do this.
You
And
know,
that it won't happen every time, right? Because our kids are busy. So it's
Oh
to
man,
have a free weekend, especially like during the summer, is really rare.
yeah,
So, and I don't feel right if I go to the guys and like, hey, you guys got to work every Saturday for the next 3 weeks. Oh, well, what are you going to be doing? Oh, I'm going to be at this ball game and then I'm going to be at this ball game. It's like I have stuff to do, but I know that especially during the summers when like Michigan winters are horrible and there's nothing to do over here in the wintertime other than, I don't know, go bowling.
sledding, go sledding.
Yeah, but it's
yeah.
like
Don't
you
nobody
want
like to do that though.
advantage of the weather. And when you're working 50, 60 hours from Monday through Friday, you want to take that time to, even if you don't want to go to the beach, at least you got the time to do it.
Yeah.
Go do
Well,
something.
and you know, you bring up the a point that I wanted to drill down on a little bit more, which is one thing my guys know, like everybody that works for me knows, I'll do what I'm asking you to do. I'll
Yes.
do it. I have done it. I'm sitting in a hotel in Colorado Springs that we finished a few months ago, walking a final walkthrough with the owner. And I remember a few months back, my poor knees, guys, was terrible, but I laid, uh, it's been several months now, but I laid some, you know, fitness room bowl on sheet vinyl, double set with a comfort pad underneath it. I did that because I had to get it done over the weekend, and our crews have worked their tails off on this job, and they needed a weekend off. And me and Sean, which is one of our superintendents, came out, knocked it out over a couple of days. And so, well, I'll do what I ask you to do, and I have. And I think that goes a long way with people as well.
Right. I mean, just one of our guys, Zach, has been helping his brother refinish his hardwood floors, and he's like, I forgot how much work this was. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I was in here on a Saturday, and he came in to grab some stuff, and he was like, "You working on a Saturday?" I said, "I don't think you realize how much we actually work. We're pretty much if I don't have anything going on with the kids, I'm working. Like you can get that far behind just on the office aspect of things, and
Are
you
you
know,
really ever ahead though? That's
right,
yeah,
and
There's
that's
always a job to bid or a job to
when
get
you're in
yeah.
the
something
field,
for.
right? And then for him to come in here and see me in here, going over a print, I got, you know, bids due and stuff like that, and just trying to catch up when it's the end of the year. So there's plenty to do. And for them to come in here and see, okay, like these guys really do work as much as we do.
Yeah,
And
I don't know how to, even as an installer, um, there's this thought like field versus office. When I was installing, it was really prevalent. Like we were almost unionized, not really, but like we always got together and just hated on the office. Well, I had just gotten in the industry.
Suits.
That
Call
was
them
the
suits.
atmosphere that I came into. But it was for good reason. I mean, back then the company I worked for, all the office, you know, had health benefits and vacation and holiday pay and all this. Us installers had none of that, not one of those benefits. Um, you know, I think I bring this up because if someone out there in the audience has that, one thing that will help you close that gap is a brand new helper has the same health insurance as I do, and it's paid for, and it's the same stuff. They have the
so
same holidays off. They have the same vacation accrual, everything that the office has. So I think that can help with closing that up.
I talked to our
And this help
insurance
does.
lady today actually, and she said that she's seeing a lot of the bigger companies like really ramp up their healthcare for retainage, because the same things that we've been talking about is the people that are coming into the workforce right now want to see those benefits packages. And if the big companies are working this hard to get something going, I told her straight up, I said, ours aren't that great. And she knows that because she handles them, right? They're not the greatest, but they're definitely not the worst, right? You go from no coverage to the middle of the ground where we're at. It's still it still
It's
saves you quite a bit of money if
still a
something
significant,
catastrophic happens, right?
still a
So,
significant, say, benefit though.
and she said that that's what she's seeing is all the bigger companies. um my wife works for a big bank, and just from this year to next year, the benefits package has gotten tremendously better. Like last year, I was like, ours is better, like there's no point in going with yours. And now this year, it's making me stop and look like, and they're really ramping it up. So if you're in a position right now to where it's kind of late because you have to have all your paperwork in by December 1st in order to get it effective on January 1st. But if you're on the fence of getting something started for your guys, now is the time, because all the big companies are doing it. So you're only going to fall further behind if you don't.
Yep. Yeah, and that brings up something that has been on my mind for a long time is how can we help the subs, because they chose to be subs, but that doesn't mean that they don't need help. How can we as an industry, I know there's some programs out there, I need to do some more research, but how can the industry help to make sure subs have access to healthcare? And I know Federated is teamed up, and has been for years with the FCICA.
Mhm.
I wonder if a sub company that's not a FCICA member could, and that's liability and GL, but I think maybe it's the MTCA that has a health insurance coverage program, like a
The
group health
FCICA
program.
does as well. It's just not through like real health insurance. It's a group program to where you still pool your money together and stuff. So it's comparable to healthcare, but it's not that you can't necessarily call it health insurance, I don't think. And when we talked to did we talk to the FCICA about it? I don't remember, but it has to do with something about the actual healthcare coverage, and you can't get certain coverages somewhere, so it's hard to blanket that
Yeah,
under something that's national.
Gotcha.
I'm surprised that there isn't like a universal healthcare program for people to get into besides individualized programs, right? Like
Well, I know there's programs out there
Well,
for small business owners and such, but I'm talking like look, I'm still considered a small business. You know what I mean? From the government's eyes and health insurance wise, we're considered a small company or a small business. Our subs are micro sized if from their perspective. So I was just curious if you guys, because that's another thing. Like,
and I was also thinking too, because I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about back in the day when labor ready was, all the rage. And it's like, in order to
labor ready, holy smokes.
in order to put something together like that right now and just focus on the flooring industry so that way people have the coverage, what would something like that take? Because you'd have to set up, pretty much an office in every state or have someone running every state because of how different things are state to state. And then, I mean, if you look over here, just half of
Wheels are
this,
spinning.
you go half the state, and this half the state is covered by this healthcare coverage, and this half the state is covered by this healthcare coverage. So, in order to put something together that could one, unify the industry and have us become stronger that way, but you're also classifying
attracting.
people as employees, getting the coverage that they need, and paying them on a W-2 rather than a 1099. It'd be great to have something like that, but how would something like that?
Well, if you have W-2 employees, you ought to be able to put them underneath your company's health insurance.
Right.
It's the subs that are kind of left out to dry on from a health insurance perspective. And yes, they can go to healthcare.gov and get
Yeah,
individualized, but it made me start thinking about the HSAs, health
I
savings
seen those wheels
plan.
turning.
And maybe I wonder if that's not a good mechanism. We got off a little bit of the topic here, but it all builds back to we
To
actually care about the dang
building the
installers.
team,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we
it's your
care about the
that's your
team.
family. It's your
yeah.
family, right? You want to make sure that you're thinking of every aspect you can to take care of them. Is
Well,
really what it is.
I'm
we
gonna
say
look into that a little
we
bit
say stuff
deeper.
like, you got so many miles on your knees, and all these guys are like working weekends. If you ain't working weekends, are you really even a flooring installer? But it's like, look at it in terms of our machine. If our machine gets broken, we gotta take some time off of that machine. Like if that battery starts dying, let me go plug it in.
It
Your weekend
requires maintenance.
plugging in.
That's a hell of a good thought, especially like the ride-on. It works for 8 hours, and then
And then it's
and then
done.
you got to plug it in. And that's funny. We expect a lot of times, and I'm guilty as anybody for this, but you expect your human um, machine to be more of a machine than an actual machine in a lot of ways. Your your human the installers. I don't know how to say it, but
Your twin said that's why you get propane, but apparently he's never worked in a hospital, so we'll let
yeah, let him slide on that.
Or
A
school,
hospital
or school,
or a food service
a
area.
retirement home.
or most the places that we work.
Yeah, or an occupied building. Sorry, Danny. No, propane has its place, bud.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh, but yeah, I just think that I wonder if that I'm
One,
gonna look into that. I'll
one
report
of our guys
on
are
the
just getting in right now. We got Zach coming in. We're talking about the team right now, so it's only right
exact.
that we talk to a team member.
Awesome. Welcome. Sit down so I can see your face.
This is Zach. He's the one that was doing his brother's house, refinishing the wood, and seen me working on a Saturday.
What's up, Zach?
Not much. How you doing?
Good. Welcome to the huddle, man. So I'm gonna put the guys on the spot here a little bit. We're talking about building relationships with crews. I own a commercial flooring company in Kansas, and so we were just throwing back and forth some best practices. From your perspective, what did these guys do really well from the relationship building with the crews perspective?
Yeah, I don't really do well when I'm put on the spot, man, to be honest with you.
Well, you did. Well, I'll tell you this. It's just like talking the way you just did right then, which is real authentic and real. Let me see if I can lead along. Do you feel like they care about you?
Yeah, for sure.
And what do they do that, give me an example of something that they've done or do that makes you feel like they actually do give a crap?
They took us out go-kart racing once. I got to smoke those guys in go-karts.
There you go.
Doing team building, stuff like that.
Sometimes you gotta let people win to build their confidence. Is really what it amounts to.
I mean, I think he came in last on the first lap and then end up winning the next two.
Yeah.
Hey, my twin knows something about some go-karts too.
Oh, yeah.
Propane go-karts.
Do you guys remember that on CFI when he got like T-boned on those fast go-karts, like broke some ribs and stuff? Danny, tell us
We
the
weren't
story.
there for that one.
Yeah, we were at a CFI and went out team building thing, went racing those go-karts, the fast ones. Danny I think he broke some ribs.
Jeez.
Anyway, yeah,
And he says, ouch, thanks,
So
Ruben.
so hey, let me add something. Let me add something here. So everybody, that's Zach, also known as Zachy Glass.
Or the
in
GOAT.
his free time,
Chris
or the GOAT.
a couple GOAT.
Yeah, or the goat. He coined himself the goat for everything. Even when he messes up, he's the goat. But in his free time, the dude likes to blow glass, and his artistic views on his pieces that he makes, that stuff amazes me. Like I've purchased some of his stuff too, and I've shared his stuff. I even tried to sell his stuff in his store at the mall because I know that he's passionate about it outside of work.
how'd you get involved with that, Zach? How'd you get started blowing glass?
You're in it now, bro. You're in it. You might as well sit
Yeah,
down.
I saw somebody do soft glass when I was a kid. My dad always did stained glass, so
you're in it now. So
but yeah, it's a funny story. I actually just did a Google search one day and I found some guy's phone number on yellowpages.com, and I just called him up one day and was like, "Hey man, want to learn how to make pipes?"
Did you even know what the yellow pages were before?
Oh yeah.
Zach's not that young.
Yeah, but
how old are you, Zach?
I'm about to be 30 in a couple weeks.
All right, you're still a youngster in my book, pal. Well, that's cool. This
is one of his pieces that he made me. This is mini butt plug.
Hey, we have fun. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got into blowing glass. Jose and Daniel does his artistic abilities come through in his flooring install?
I think his patience to be able to do something really comes through, because blowing glass, it's not just like, I'm gonna get this done real quick. He's told me how much work goes into this, and it's like that patience factor really helps him out, I think, because he's one of the guys that you can send him to do something and that he's going to go over there. It might take him a little bit of time, but I'm not going to have to worry about that spot at all anymore. It'll be goated.
And we don't know if it's really patience or like all the chemicals that he breathes in because he doesn't wear a mask or anything. So,
and we kind of talked earlier too about trying not to work weekends and stuff, because we know you guys have hobbies, and for you to spend your weekends blowing glass is a lot better for your recharge cycle than it is to, if we were to be like, well, guys, you got to work Saturday and Sunday this week, you kind of got to make time for the things that you like to do rather than the things that you need to do.
Yeah, it shows you care. Not just you, but like they care. If I'm guilty of not having a heck of a lot of hobbies because I work so much, and I wouldn't wish that on people. So having some time off, man, I can't have a better example than our ride-on machine. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that. Like
that is a great analogy comparison. Yeah, I love
8
it.
hours of work and you're done, and you got to plug that thing in and recharge it. And so humans, we need that too. So, all right, guys. Hey, we are nearing the end of the huddle. I say this every week, but an hour goes by really fast. Zach, dude,
Crystal said that
go.
he made her a butt plug too, but hers is bigger so she can use it.
Slightly bigger.
It's called shrapnel. Okay. All right, we got off course. My
Shrapnel.
apologies, guys. Zach, you're obviously a talented glass blower and flooring installer. Thanks for joining us today and stepping
You
in.
can find him on Instagram. He does a lot of his work on Instagram, right?
Yeah, Instagram.com/Zachy Glass, Zachy.
Zachy Glass.
Zachy Glass. All right. Well, give Zach a follow and check out some of his work. Guys, thanks again. I do want to bring up the Forward Progress Scholarship again. There's still some time left to apply for that scholarship that Go Carerra has put on with in unison with the FCICA. So if you're an installer and you want to learn a little bit more of the management side of the business, and it will help your installation career, I promise you that. Get on and apply. It's on all of our socials, I'm pretty sure. I know it's on Go
I'll
Carerra's.
probably
I've
do
seen
another
it.
round of sharing that again too to get more people signed up.
That goes for
Yeah.
you too, Zachy. Fill it out, brother.
Yeah, get
eligible.
on there. It's a great program, man. It's I think it's valued at like $1,200 or $1,300, and it's an awesome program. And so that being said, guys, I'm gonna sign us out. I appreciate everybody's input. This was a great podcast. I'm really happy. I learned some stuff, and we'll go back and apply some of it. So thanks again, Zach. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
All
All right,
Thanks again, everyone.
signing out. See you
guys
guys.
later.